For today's program, we have a great panel for you, starting with Gary Bimberg and Joe Houle, who are the managing partners of Levine Benjamin, a regional disability law firm based in Detroit. They're going to talk about their experiences in creating and building the Medicare Advantage program. Then we'll have Maurice Jones, who's the Medicare Advantage agent for Levine Benjamin. Following Mo will be Mark Snihurowych of Disability Health Advocates, who'll give you the important nuts and bolts about Medicare Advantage for disability law firms. On our agenda for today is why establishing a Medicare Advantage practice is a perfect complement to an existing SSDI practice, the law firm of Levine Benjamin's experience with Medicare Advantage and what it means for the bottom line, what is Medicare Advantage anyway, and how to connect with a reputable insurance partner. With all of that, let's get started. We're going to start now with attorney Gary Bimberg. Gary, it's all yours.
Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate it. My name again is Gary Bimberg. I'm one of the managing partners here at Levine Benjamin. Myself, along with Joe Houle, we handle the Social Security Disability Department here at the firm. Going on about 5 years ago or so, Mark over at Disability Health Advocates kind of came to us about establishing a Medicare Advantage practice along with our existing Social Security Disability practice here. We didn't know anything about it, but we certainly wanted to listen to him. And one of his main points and what he wanted to stress to us is that while establishing a Medicare Advantage program is a perfect complement to an existing SSDI practice. We have a pretty large practice here in Michigan throughout the Midwest, and we certainly were happy to listen to him. We're here to share kind of how our experiences went and how other law firms out there could hopefully do as well as we have on this. All right, so as most of you all know, or all you all know, of course, Social Security disability clients receive traditional Medicare 24 months after the date of their first disability check. So everyone knows that what regular Medicare is, but what we're trying to do is help people get their Medicare Advantage program. So in a time of kind of shrinking SSD fees and political pressure, we wanted to look around to see how we can expand our practice. As we know, backlogs in our Social Security cases are going down. Political pressure is hurting the amount of judge favorable decisions. So we wanted to see if there are ways to somehow expand our practice and get some more revenue. And by going after Medicare Advantage, we have a captive audience of already SSD clients. They're already familiar with our firm after we've won their cases already, so they are happy to work with us and helping them get Medicare Advantage. As our agent Maurice once told us, it's like shooting fish in a barrel, in that these clients are already familiar with us, they're happy with our services, and we're here to now help them get Medicare Advantage there. Now, you can get Medicare sign up our clients year-round. So what we can do is every month of the year, we have our clients who we won their cases and they become Medicare eligible. We can now get them on the Medicare Advantage plan. Now, another benefit of working with our clients for Medicare is it brings them back to mind for additional SSDI referrals. So if we're helping out a client, now is their time to get them on the Medicare, we can say, all right, do you have any other friends or neighbors or families who might need help with SSDI as well? So it's like a synergy to get existing clients our way. And it helps build goodwill in that we are helping them not only with their Social Security disability case, but now helping with them to navigate the very complicated Medicare practice and procedures as well. Now, also working with our existing SSD client base, we can piggyback what we're doing already to help with our Medicare practice. What we do is we use our existing client database, our Prevail network, to help with use the systems that already have to get the information from our clients for our agent to sell. We can send out in our initial client package what are called scopes of appointment. So the client will sign those papers and then they're already in the file. Then once they become Medicare eligible, it allows our agent to automatically contact them as well. And it again, we have the database that we have a running Excel spreadsheet at all times. So each month, at the beginning of the month, we have a certain number of clients who are becoming Medicare eligible about that time. So our agent can use that process to help sell them and get them onto the Medicare.
Thanks, Gary. This is Joe Houle, one of the co-managers of the office, coming from you, Southfield, Michigan. Actually, we're just north west of the city of Detroit. It's October 1st. It's 85 degrees here in Michigan, so it's a nice day. Wanted to thank Nathan and Alex at Firmidable. We've partnered with Nathan for a long time, and he's always done a great job for us. So thank you, Nathan and Alex. I especially like your picture on like slide 3 there, where you guys look like you're having so much fun putting together that next webinar. So it was as much fun putting this one together, and I appreciate the opportunity. So Nathan thought I should introduce Mark and how we met Mark, and Gary kind of touched on that the last time. And as a real world example, we got off the practice session, and Gary said, "Hey, you know what? It sounds like you did everything on this." And so I want to give Gary a lot of credit, and it'll be a perfect segue into exactly how we developed this Medicare Advantage practice and how well we're doing. So Mark called me up. Gary was out of the office that day in the fall of 14, September 14, almost 5 years ago, basically. And he said, "Hey, I've got this plan that I want to propose to you." And I thought, well, okay, if you're going to be in Detroit from Utah, I'll see you. And I didn't hold out a lot of hope for it. It sounded promising, but frankly, I think as practitioners, we're always hearing these pitches if you're a business owner. And so he came in, and within 5 minutes, I thought, boy, this is very promising. And I really like what he's saying. So I grabbed one of my other partners, and he came in the room, and we sat with Mark for an hour and said, "This is what you have to do if you're interested, and this is how you set everything up." So in terms of what Gary and I do, we run a really big practice. And so I don't want anyone listening out there today to say, well, you know, I only do 100 cases a month, or I do 50 cases a month, or you could be bigger than us. I mean, we have about 230 hearings per month, and Gary and I have about 100 initial applications per month. So there's a lot of past cases to mine from to look for these Medicare Advantage policies. And when you go, let me scoot up here to the next slide, the average first-year commission for a Medicare Advantage sale is $510. So if you're able to sell a policy, you're going to receive a commission of $510. And Mark has on his website, you can go to dgadvocates.com. It's generally $510 across the country. There are a couple of states a little bit higher, but thereafter, if you're able to keep those current clients in the program, if you will, continue them with the policy, it's $255 per renewal. So it's very advantageous to sign up and convert these people over, and Maurice will tell you about this, to a Medicare Advantage plan, because it's really increasing your bottom line. In terms of an analogy that I would give everyone, in Detroit here and in Michigan, we have a statewide practice, Indiana, Ohio as well, and we take cases anywhere, but generally it takes about 2 years from start to finish, and that time limit's come down now considerably. And so if you take $510 for your first year commission, just add $255 to it, comes to $765. Our average fee in all those cases that we do is about $2,800. So you're basically adding 25% to the value of every favorable decision, Title II favorable decision that you receive. It's a significant amount of money. Let me move on to the next slide. This is where I want to give Gary a little bit of credit. Finding a good agent is the key. And in terms of background, Mark came out, like I said, September of 14. We got up and running in, I want to say maybe November of 14 or December of 14, doesn't really matter. The first person we hired was an E-. And I hate to be mean or cruel, but not a good agent, didn't know how to sell, and not a particularly nice person. She was very judgmental with our clientele and said, you know, this is their problem, that they're in the situation they're in. So it didn't last long. We hired our next agent in March of 15. And she worked until December of 16 through 2 open enrollment periods. And we're in open enrollment now through December 7th. And that's where anyone can convert an existing Medicare Advantage plan or switch into a Medicare Advantage plan at any time. So this agent wasn't bad, but she had a lot of health problems. She was taking care of her grandmother, taking care of her mother, and she missed a tremendous amount of time. And here's where I would give Gary his due, because at that point, I was very frustrated. And I thought, this is just not worth the time that we're putting into it. And Gary said, let's keep it going. Let's see. And the segue is, if you don't have a good agent, you will absolutely flounder. You will absolutely fail. You'll be frustrated, and you're going to question the value of this program. So we found a good agent. Our third agent was a wonderful guy, worked for us for about 19 or 20 months. And unfortunately, he had a massive heart attack and he passed away. And he did a great job, though, of getting the business up and running. He was very good friends with Maurice, and Maurice is our current agent. We met Maurice through Darius, and Maurice has now continued to do a wonderful job for us. So in terms of where we started, we sold 101 policies in 2015, 125 in 2016, in 2017, 312, 2018, 349, and in 2019, we have 344 policies sold year to date, where open enrollment is your biggest selling period, and we should be able to sell, I'm hoping, 150 to 200 policies in open enrollment. So finding an agent, the number one thing you can do, and I want to talk about a couple things about agent training. As you can see, agent certification and training. This is something that Mark can help you out with. Maurice can answer any questions you may have about finding an agent. In Michigan, and I'm sure every state has their own qualifications for insurance sales, you have to pass an insurance approved course. Once you pass the insurance approved exam, then you have to register as an accident and health producer agent and take an exam and pass that as well. Once you're licensed, you have to complete additional training through the American Health Insurance Plan, the AHIP Medicare online training courses, to make sure that you understand how to sell and the importance of a Medicare Advantage plan. Then you have to also become certified for the individual carriers that sponsor these plans, be they Molina, Blue Cross Blue Shield. In Michigan, Health Alliance Plan is big, Priority Health is big. Now, all that said, it's not like it's 2 months of training and a lot of dollars. It's generally a 2-day course for the first exam, and then some hours here and there for the other exams. And Maurice will think, Joe, you're minimizing this a little bit, but I think at the end of the day, you can get up and going within a week or two rather easily. Errors and omissions. You want to have an errors and omissions and insurance policy on the agent for any of the misdeeds an agent might commit. And we have $1 million errors and omissions policy on Maurice. And this is one of the things I was very concerned with as a practitioner. I didn't want anybody taking a client with a debilitating disability and putting them in a program and a policy and an HMO, if you will, that didn't treat their medical condition. And Maurice explained it to me very easily, saying, Joe, this is the easiest of the easiest. Medicare Advantage is made to ensure people have care, not to not have care. And so it's almost impossible to commit malpractice per se. But even so, I would strongly suggest you have an insurance policy, because we know things just happen in the outside world. Establishing a compensation structure. We use a hybrid of a salary and commission. And, it works well for us. I mean, getting going, your agent's not going to make a lot of money unless they have some other outside work coming in, some past work coming in. So you want to give them a salary to cover some living expenses, but you also want to give them a commission structure so that you want to give them incentive to sell and sell well. And if they sell well, you'll profit. So once a client finds a plan that fits their needs, they normally stay on it. We have sold since 2015 roughly 735 policies. As of today, 515 clients are still on those policies that are generating renewals, that $255 per year. So roughly about 70% of the people we have sold to over the last 4 years are still on our policies. Now you can do the math. If we sell 400 new cases, 400 new policies this year, sell 400 next year, and so forth, and 70% stay on, in a few years, that 515 number will be over 1,000, and you'll have 1,000 policies. At least we will have 1,000 policies that are generating $255 a year. Maurice and Mark can tell you a little bit more about what's necessary to maintain clients on these policies. There's very little per se work that gets back to me. I mean, clients are very happy, and they'll explain that you never have an angry client. It's not like processing a disability claim where they say, what's going on? What's taking so long? Why are you guys getting paid so much? They're happy as pink because they've saved money and they're on something that is very cost effective for them as opposed to a traditional Medicare plan. And you've also, like I said, increased your bottom line by 25%. Policy sales have been increasing, the second bullet point there, each year, as well as improvements have been made to our sales processes. I mean, absolutely, we're better at we've set up a spreadsheet. We analyze it for every month that a person becomes eligible to apply throughout the year for Medicare eligible, and they're contacted immediately. They get the scope that Gary mentioned, and Maurice is talking to them on a monthly basis. Every day a client becomes eligible is another client that Maurice talks to. And the great thing is, like Gary said, they have a relationship with your office, and then it gives you a chance to contact them and stay in touch with that client, where we've all heard stories over the years where they say, well, you did my case, but my wife's case went to so-and-so, Mr. Smith down the road. Why would you go to Mr. Smith if I won your case? These kind of relationships are built, and you're making money the whole time. Our first-year commission income has grown 225% in the last 3 years. Yeah, I mean, our commissions have gone through the roof. Like I said, we went from 2017 or 2016, if you want to go back that far, selling 125 policies, and now we're at 344 as October 1st, and this is the big selling period right now for the next 2 months with open enrollment. So it's really been a win for our firm. We've helped our clients substantially. The amount of feedback you get from clients, they're so pleased and happy that they're saving money. And frankly, you're making money on something that you've already spent money to acquire, and that's the underlying client to begin with.
So this is Maurice Jones. I've got about 20 plus years in the insurance arena. Medicare, I've become grossly fond of. It gives us an opportunity to help our clients each and every day. So what exactly is Medicare Advantage? Medicare Advantage is a health insurance plan designed by the carriers and approved by the government. Why is that important? Most of our clients are all familiar with the standard carriers like Humana, Aetna, United Health, etc. So immediately when you start talking about Medicare Advantage, they have some sort of a familiarity with an actual carrier. When you talk about Medicare as by itself, they're uncertain at best. This is very important for us to leverage what we know and what they know concerning actual Medicare. But here's some of the things that we know. We know that after 24 months of their disability after winning their disability case, they become eligible for Medicare. Every single one of your SSDI clients will qualify for Medicare. We also have an accurate record of the doctor's information. So they don't have to feel uncomfortable about talking about medical conditions or anything like that. So there's not a fact find going on at this point. We're not extracting additional information from them. We also are aware if they have actual special needs. These things help us better determine what types of plans will be a better fit for the actual client. So as Gary talked about, because we know a predictable date is 24 months out, we actually properly position the client 24 months in advance. We send out a client packet of which they sign, giving us authorization for representation, but within that, it's what's called a scope of employment. I really want to reiterate, the scope of the appointment is a requirement by the Centers of Medicaid and Medicare Services. So even though we have a relationship, we also have a scope that really just nails down what exactly we're talking to the client about. We're not calling them talking about retirement or annuities. We're not calling them talking to them about life insurance. We're calling them to talk specifically about their Medicare and why Medicare Advantage would potentially make better sense for them. We also know that each and every one of these clients is on a fixed income. What does that mean to them? That means that they're trying to keep as much of their hard-earned dollars in their pocket. They don't have the opportunity to go out and generate any additional income. So our goal is to decrease all of their copays as much as possible and give them more coverage or more benefits regarding each plan. Medicare Advantage actually does that, opposed to some of the traditional Medicare. Timing is everything. Keeping a constant log of that 24-month window and reaching out to that client within 3 months of their actual effective date is huge for them. Every single one of them appreciates that. And here's why. 98% of them have no idea what to do. If they're under 65, almost 100% of them believe that Medicare is for people 65 and older. Of the 2% that think they know what to do, they're not confident to do anything. So in most cases, they do nothing. And what this means to them is they actually end up losing benefits. If they're coming off a traditional health plan, if they're coming off of Medicare, they're at risk of losing their prescription drug coverage. They're at risk of being exposed to 20% of everything with no limit. We can help them avoid these costs at no cost to them. And again, the appreciation, the letters, the comments, the thank yous. If you've never been in the business where someone thanks you every single day, this is that business. The benefits of Medicare Advantage plan over traditional Medicare. Traditional Medicare, again, is a health insurance plan for those typically 65 and over or under 65 with disability, which is many of the clients that we're talking about. Medicare by itself has no limit to the 20% exposure. It has deductibles in place, and it does not provide additional benefits that we'll talk about. Also, it does not provide for prescription drug coverage. Medicare Advantage plan mitigates that 20%, not in whole. In some cases, it can mitigate all of it, depending upon the income qualification of the client. But in most cases, it takes their 20% exposure down to 5% with a cap. So there is a fixed ceiling that they can't go past. They have additional cost savings in terms of their office visits versus 20% of whatever the doctor wants to charge. They have a predictable rate for every office visit, every hospital stay, every specialist visit, even a predictable rate in terms of what their prescription drugs are going to cost. They actually have more choices in the carriers, more choices to work with the carriers they are familiar with, and not just one that someone calls them and put a loss to them. And then we can also explain why it makes sense to work with those carriers, the additional values, additional benefits that come with that, prescription drug coverage, fitness membership, virtual care, travel benefits, over-the-counter items, etc. The list goes on. So most of our clients always ask, they get this letter we talked about, we sent, when can I enroll? When can I enroll? When can I enroll? And the reason is they've heard about some of the benefits, but they're not sure how it applies to them. When can I enroll? They've seen television commercials, but they believe it's smoke and mirrors. Well, basically, we kind of remove some of the smoke and mirrors and we talk to them about when they can enroll and what the benefits mean to them. We are actually approaching what's called an annual enrollment period, which is October 15th through December 7th. During that period, anyone that is reaching their 24 months of disability or anyone that's age 65 or older can enroll in the plan. There's also special enrollment periods. Special enrollment periods, probably 10 or 12 different things that would qualify for a special enrollment. But basically, a special enrollment means an additional opportunity that you have to enroll in a plan or change a plan. This could be based because the plan is ineffective for you. It didn't do what you thought it was going to do. You got switched out of your plan by the state, or when you entered into the plan, your doctors may not have participated or may have dropped out of that plan, so you may want change that plan. Again, we really want to leverage the carriers that they're familiar with, like Humana, UHC, the national carriers, Priority Health, HAP, Molina, are some of our carriers here. But in leveraging the carriers, we also want to leverage our own relationship with them. We've already won their disability case. They already trust us. They're already very, very happy of our services. So it just makes sense to circle back, add a little more to your bottom line, and continue to help the clients that clearly need our help going forward with all the programs. So if we really are interested in capitalizing on what we already know regarding our SSD clients and transitioning them from Medicare from traditional insurance to Medicare, we understand that most of them are confused. We recognize that timing is important. What we need to do, again, is position the clients, reposition your firm, build goodwill, and continue the income stream, a predictable income stream for your client that has no future, no predictable end date.
Hello, this is Mark Snihurowych. I am the president of Disability Health Advocates. Some of you may have met me before or seen me at the NOSCR conferences where we exhibit, and I've also been a speaker 3 times at NOSCR discussing Medicare in DC, Denver, and then just a few weeks ago in New Orleans, if you were there. So basically what we do is we put all this together for you. So we've heard Joe and Gary talk about how they got started. We heard Mo talk about why the clients might be interested in Medicare Advantage and or Medicare health plans. And then what our company does is we teach you how to basically replicate Levine Benjamin's model. Basically what we do is we teach you how to earn an additional income stream while educating your clients about the Medicare options available to them and providing this tremendous service. It's basically converting or completing the circle of service. You help them get their SSDI, and what many firms do is once their client gets the SSDI, that's the end of the relationship. And really what we're trying to do is help you change their expectations where they come to you, they say, hey, this is my illness or injury. You help them with their case, you help them get their SSDI, then they qualify for Medicare, and then you help them maximize the benefits they're entitled to after Medicare. Now, a couple just quick things I want to add on to what Joe said is, firstly, your Medicare enrollments will far exceed your SSDI book of business because every single one of your SSDI cases that you have, even if it's a case that you don't even, you decide to turn down or you don't accept, or maybe the client loses their case, every single person that you run into or your clients run into, all of those people know people that are eligible for Medicare, maybe their mother or their grandmother or their neighbor or somebody, and you can help all of those people. So one of the things that we'll teach you how to do is just remind your clients that you can help anybody on Medicare. Now, one other thing that Joe mentioned is that they've seen about a 70% retention rate. And I understand why that is based on their history with the 4 agents, but I am confident that, and based on the experiences we've had with our other law firms and non-attorney reps that we work with, I bet if they looked at over the next couple of years, just Maurice's portion, I bet the retention rate is going to be way higher than 70%, because sometimes when you change agents, you naturally lose some of the clients. And so I think that a 70% retention rate is on the lower side, but of course, like Joe explained, there's some reasons for that. But most of our agencies and law firms we work with are seeing a slightly higher retention. So I would imagine that Levine Benjamin will see a higher retention rate moving forward with Mo, because he's such a good agent. So by working with us, we teach you how to keep everything in-house. Now, the attorney, him or herself, does not need, or the non-attorney rep does not need to be the insurance agent. It can be a paralegal, it can be an admin, it can be a son or daughter if they're over 18, it can be a spouse. Really, anyone over the age of 18 that has time and the desire to do this can become the insurance agent, and we teach you how to do that, teach them how to go through the process, and keep everything in-house. There are other companies out there that might approach you and suggest that you sell them your book of business, and then they will sell your clients the Medicare and maybe pay you a portion of that. But by working with us, you keep everything in-house, and you know exactly what's being said to your clients, by whom. Any referrals that come in from your clients will go back to your law firm and not some third party. If you sell your book of business, you lose complete control, which could put you in a tricky situation depending on if your client has a poor experience. But also, who knows if that book of business is sold to a third, fourth, fifth person. Also, by working with us,
Hey, Mark, this is Nathan. We did have a question come in that I think is relevant. One of the attorneys is asking, what did the State Bar Association say about the idea of a law firm having an insurance business?
So I appreciate that question, of course, and that's actually, I'm going to address that in just a slide or two. That's definitely, obviously, a key point. So I'll just finish up this slide, and I believe it actually might even be on the next slide. But by working with us, you retain 100% of the commissions. You're not getting a portion paid to you by a third party that you sold your book of business to. You're getting everything paid to you. In most cases, not all, but in most cases, it's being paid to you directly by the insurance carriers. So no one else is even touching your money. It's coming directly to you, direct deposit from the insurance company. So you're maintaining complete control over what's being said to your client, that relationship with your client, while retaining 100% of the income. Now, by working with us, we will do everything for you at no cost. So our services are completely free to you. We provide training, support, ongoing product training, whether it's next month or 5 years from now. We will be there to help you if you have questions for enrollment, certifications. We can help you with approach letters and scripts to let your clients know this is a new service that you provide, as well as, how do you remind your clients that this is something that you can help their friends and family with as well. The way that we get paid is we are paid an administrative fee by the insurance companies that comes out of a separate pool of money that you're not even eligible for. So you would receive 100% of the federally mandated agent level commissions by the insurance companies, and then we receive a separate commission and administrative fee that, again, is not part of yours. We're not taking a haircut off the top of your commissions. It's a completely separate pool of money. So everything that you need to know about how to get started, how to get licensed, figure out which product is best for this client versus that client, so on and so forth, we help you with all of that at no cost. Now, it's important, of course, that your clients receive the benefits they're entitled to, but they just don't know about. And that's exactly how our whole company came to be. We saw all these SSDI recipients that were basically ignoring all of the advertisements for Medicare because Medicare health plan carriers like United Healthcare, Humana, et cetera, market to the typical Medicare beneficiary, which is someone over 65. And so your clients typically will overlook that. Now, everything that we teach you, and this is answering Nathan, or the question that Nathan just asked me about, everything that we teach you is compliant under both state bar rules and Medicare marketing guidelines. It does not appear to us in our research and our ethics advisory opinions and other things that we've reviewed, it does not appear that selling your book of business and having a third party help your clients does not seem to be compliant from what we've discovered. So that's why keeping it in-house is the best way to go about it, in our opinion. Now, I'm summarizing here, and of course, we can provide some ethics advisory opinions for numerous states if anyone's curious. And every state is slightly different, but the take-home message for almost all states from the state bar, and keep in mind that most state bars don't want to be regulating every single industry, whether it's a Subway sandwich shop, a cruise line, or selling insurance. Basically what the state bars, and again, I'm majorly summarizing here just to give you the general concept, but what the state bar wants your client to understand is that the non-legal services, in this case we're talking about Medicare health plans, the non-legal services are not an extension of the attorney-client relationship. So even if the attorney and the insurance agent are the same person, but wearing two different hats at two different meetings, the client needs to understand it's a separate relationship, that the fees that you were paid for the SSDI case is not related at all to the insurance relationship. Because basically what the state bar doesn't want to happen is they don't want insurance-related complaints coming back to the state bar when the state bar really has no clue about that any more than they would know about a car wash or anything else. So,
Mark, can I jump in also a little bit to add my perspective on trying to answer this question also?
Please do.
Okay, thanks. Again, this is Gary Bimberg again. What we did in terms of setting up our insurance company is that it's a whole separate LLC. So our law firm's name is Levine Benjamin. We set up a separate LLC called Levine Benjamin Insurance Advisors, or LBIA. It is licensed by the state of Michigan as a separate insurance agency. So it's not part of the law firm. Even though the partners of the law firm are the owners of the LLC, it is separate and different from the law firm as LBIA. So it's a separate entity entirely.
And there are many reasons to set up the separate entity. Obviously, it keeps everything separate. It keeps all the income separate, so the accounting is much simpler. But also, if you are an attorney and you want to be the insurance agent, you can simply have, if you're not concerned about liability, which in the big picture is not an issue, because not only will you have errors and omissions insurance, it costs about $400 a year, which is less than one enrollment, but the E&O claims are almost non-existent in the Medicare market. But also, if you're the insurance agent and the attorney and you're going to be selling the health plans yourself, and by the way, most of these health plans are zero premium, so there's no cost to your client even to enroll. In some areas, of course, there is a premium, but in most urban areas, there are no premiums, and so your clients are not paying for this. They're just opting in the benefits they're entitled to but just don't know about. But again, I digress. So if the attorney and the insurance agent are the same person, you can simply have the commissions paid to your Social Security number, and you get 1099 every year by the insurance carriers. But if you are going to have a separate agency where perhaps you do not want the agent keeping all of the money, or maybe the agent works for you for a couple of years and then leaves, you don't want them taking all those renewals with you. So you do set up a separate LLC or something to that effect, and then the commissions are assigned to that LLC, and the LLC would then own those renewals. And the renewals, by the way, are paid for life. So as long as your client remains on the plan, they will get, if the plan sold this year, you will get a minimum of $255 every year for the rest of that client's life as long as they remain on the plan. However, the renewal amounts increase every year, and so every year those renewals for most carriers will also increase. You actually have some inflation protection built in there as well. But the setting up the separate agency will make sure that all of those commissions remain with you, the owner of the agency. Therefore, if you have to trade out the agent for any reason, they don't take all of that with them. So again, the whole point about this is completing the circle of service, helping your clients with the benefits they're entitled to, but also building an extra income stream for your firm due to the Medicare enrollments for the clients themselves, their family and friends, but also, as many of the law firms and non-attorney reps that we work with can attest to, is that you also do get some additional SSDI referrals from your Medicare beneficiaries and your Medicare enrollment. So it's a great way to get extra business coming in the door. Now, the last thing I'll say is that, as I said, you can help anyone on Medicare of any age. So some of the attorneys and non-attorney reps we work with, they have started marketing in their own communities to people over 65 and helping just regular Medicare beneficiaries with Medicare as well. We've actually had a couple attorneys that we work with that are winding down their law business. Maybe they're 65 or whatever. They themselves have stopped with their legal business and continued on with the insurance because it builds a lifetime income stream for as long as the agent's alive or as long as the attorney's alive. So it can be a retirement income stream as well. Here's our contact information for Levine Benjamin as well as our company. Nathan, do we have any more questions?
We sure do. Somebody asked to kind of explain a little more about the open enrollment period and why that matters.
So the open enrollment period, which is also technically referred to as the annual election period, Open enrollment under Medicare is a slightly different thing, but I think you're referring to the annual election period. That begins on October 15th and runs until December 7th. So you'll be seeing a lot of TV commercials from insurance companies. If you yourself are hovering around age 65 or older, or you know someone that is, they're getting inundated with mail right now from insurance companies. So what that period is that's when every single person on Medicare is able to change or add in a plan. So all of your clients that currently have Medicare and all their family and friends can add or change their plans. So this is a great time to go back through your book of business from years past and contact those people. Now, that's only a 7-week period, but this is not a 7-week business. It's a year-round business because you have clients that are going to be going on to Medicare all year round because of their onset date and their effective dates for Medicare, but also if your clients have low-income subsidy or Medicaid, which means they generally earn about $17,000 a year or less, which is statistically about half of the average SSDI attorney's clients, those people can change their plans year-round. And there are many other special election periods that Mo covered briefly that make your clients eligible to change their plan or enroll in a new plan 12 months a year. But the annual election period is starting in 2 weeks is really the main time where everyone is eligible, regardless of income, regardless of age, as long as they have Medicare Part A and B benefit.
Somebody else is asking, is the training person to person, or is that training done by webinar?
So the way that our company works is that we tailor the training specifically to the needs of your agent. That's scheduling, that's webinars, that's telephone, email, face-to-face visits if need be. Every attorney and non-attorney rep operates slightly differently, and so everything is personalized to exactly what you need to be successful in this business.
Somebody else is asking, how much does this cost and how long before the law firm would see a profit?
So I'm just going to give some average numbers. It's usually around, you can take any online study course or in-person study course or book study course borrowing from the library, but we recommend one course that we're not affiliated with. They don't pay us anything, but it costs about $100 to study for the online, to study the pre-licensing course, which is online. Then it costs about $100 to take the state test at your local testing center, which is often a community college or a high school or something like that. Then it costs about $100 to actually get your insurance license once you've passed the test. Some states require fingerprinting, which is about $40 or $50 paid to your local police department typically. So that we're $350 roughly. And then most attorneys or their agents purchase a standalone errors and omissions policy, which is about $400. And then the federal government requires what's called the AHIP training, which is America's Health Insurance Plan training that Joe referenced. That's $125. So what are we at? Like $875 to get started, which is less than 2 enrollments. Every 2 years you have to renew your license, and that license is usually about $100. It varies state to state, but it's usually about $100 to renew. And then you need maybe another $50 to take continuing education classes online, which are pretty quick and easy. Now, one other thing that is sort of related to this is if you work in multiple states, you do not have to have an agent in every state, and you do not have to pass the test in every state. Once you pass the test, say in Michigan, then you can purchase, if you live in Michigan, you would take the test wherever you're a resident, and then you can purchase non-resident reciprocal licenses in any other state in the country, and it varies in cost, but it's usually around $100 as well. Now, again, how long does it take for a law firm to start turning a profit depends on how much time the agent can spend and dedicate to this and how fast they can get through the process. I would say, for most people that know absolutely nothing about Medicare, it takes about 15 to 20 hours to study for the state test. Obviously, if you study an hour today and you don't look at it again for 2 weeks, you're probably going to have to review that hour. But if you can set aside some time and bang it out in a few days or a week, obviously that's going to speed up the process. And then once you've passed the state test, we can help you with all of the online certifications and trainings so we can get through that quite quickly. And then what we do is teach you everything that's relevant in order to help your clients in an effective, efficient way while remaining compliant under both state bar rules and Medicare marketing guidelines. So I would say, with a month is probably average.
And Mark, I think the question is really from a practitioner standpoint, if you sell a policy today as well, once you get going and get all this training out of the way, if you sell a policy today, how long will it take to see the commission from that policy sale?
Oh, okay, I apologize. I misunderstood the question, I guess. Most carriers will pay 2 commission cycles after the policy is approved, and a commission cycle is typically about a week. And so if you were to submit a plan, an enrollment today, which is Tuesday, October 1st, you would get paid 2 weeks from now. Some carriers pay at the end of the month of the effective date, but that's becoming more and more uncommon. So if you sold a November 1st policy today, you wouldn't get paid till the end of November. But most of them pay within a couple of weeks. And then the renewals start paying monthly on the renewal date. So every month you build a residual income moving forward.
Okay. And this seems like a good last question. I was saving it. Somebody wrote, I think I might be interested. How would I get started?
All right, I could take that one. Yeah,
Sure.
well, certainly. Basically, you could contact us at Levine Benjamin, all right, if you wanted some general questions from the practitioner standpoint, or contact Mark, over at Disability Health Advocates, either call or email about actually setting them up in-house as well.
Okay. All right. Well, that's about all the time we have. If you do have any additional questions, the panelist or I would be happy to talk with you directly after the program. As a reminder, as you leave today's webinar, please provide your feedback on the survey you should receive shortly. Within about 48 hours, you'll also receive an email with a link to view a recording of today's webinar so you can share it with your intake team, your partners, anybody else that you would like who's not watching live today. Thank you everyone for attending today's webcast. On behalf of Levine Benjamin, Disability Health Advocates, plus the entire team here at Firmidable, thank you for joining us today. Now go out there and get some more great clients.